Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to Call of War. And oh my god, have things erupted over the past 6 days in our YouTuber versus YouTuber showdown between me, Diplxheated, and Karmakut. Oh baby, have things got pretty crazy. Before we do get stuck in, I go ahead and give you guys a rundown of what's been happening in the Great Asian Indian War. I want to go ahead and give a massive thank you to the developers for sponsoring this video, for giving us this 100-person world domination Armageddon server, and for providing us with a very exciting game mode. If you guys like what you see in this and you want to be a part of this or get ready for the next time if they do want to sponsor us again, then make sure to use my link in the description. You can sign up, you gain yourself some high command, which is kind of like the premium, which gives you access to queuing up units so you don't always have to be on, and your game will start, will continue to do stuff, as well as some free gold to get you started. You can play some tutorial games, play some proper big games, and kind of get the feel of it for the next time we dive in. So yes, this will be kind of the second and final video in this series, where I'll be running down every couple days, bringing you guys the lowdown of what's been happening, the wars we've been fighting. And this is about 5 days in, I think, because I wanted to kind of skip through the first couple days because, a lot of that is just killing the AI and, doing diplomacy and talking to other players and seeing what they, their plans are and what our plans are. And you've seen we've done exactly that. I started off the game on day one as soon as the game kicked off by taking out Mukden. Obviously, I'm playing Korea as well, if you didn't notice. You can see my initial land is ones without the lines through, so I obviously had all of this. I spent the first couple of days taking out Mukden, and that's just kind of all this territory out here. I blitzkrieged them pretty quickly. I then kind of spent a lot of the time building up my industrial capacity, my capitals. Almost got a level 5 industry complex, which is really good. Obviously, it takes a while for that to happen. Also over here as well, I got so lucky. The AI of Mukden was already building a level 2 industry complex, so when I took it, it was level 2, and I didn't have to spend any rare materials on upgrading that, which was really nice. And you can see a lot of my other territory is fairly upgraded. A lot of level 5s as well, almost level 5 here. And I'm spamming out tac bombs and fighters so I can really dominate the skies. It's one of the easiest ways to level up and kind of really dominate against people who aren't necessarily as savvy with the game, who don't have enough anti-air and enough fighters of their own. However, that's not the case. So after we took out Mukden, we also went off to Khabarovsk, one of the Russian factions, and with Japan, we took them down without too much of a fight. You can see, I know Japan is kind of a confusing color because we look the same, but this is Japan, and they can kind of see this is also Japan as well. They're a little bit darker up here, but yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but just know that this is obviously all Japan down here, and they've pushed into the Philippines as well. Made some friends, obviously, Japan being one of them. Nationalist China, we helped them in the fight to take out Communist China, and we took Beijing, which was pretty nice, progressing on there. And then ever since then, we've been fighting the Indian nations. These guys are really well played players. They've played a lot of Call to War and they know what they're doing, and it's been a really fun fight. It's only really just started on day 5, but it's been so much fun back and forth. Both of us, having a lot of aircraft, kind of picking off weak targets. And they were initially pushing through Burma. You can see that we have managed to push them back from Burma, which has been really good. And now we've kind of got them back into their territory. The only reason, though, that this was possible was to the Middle Eastern Alliance. I managed to convince the Saudi Arabians that they should push in and attack the Indians whilst they are busy fighting us, and that's exactly what they did. And I think with that, they've only done that this morning, so the war is still raging on there. But you can see them and Persia, and I think Syria are now here as well. They're causing a lot of industry damage. They're taking out main cities right here. They're taking over provinces that are producing them aircraft, artillery, tanks. And whilst them cities are in Saudi Arabian hands, which they might not keep them, they'll probably end up running out of steam and the Indians will take them back. But they're drawing men away from our front. They're stopping them from producing. So really a noble push in. And honestly, if they have enough, I can't see what everyone else has besides Arabia. They could quite easily overrun the defenses, because as you can see, we've got a lot of their air force, a lot of their army focused on us, and yeah, it's going to be very, very important. I love as well, in the previous game we did when I was Great Britain, it was very much about the Navy. It was about, kind of going out, sending out ships, scouting to see where your enemy are, and, then moving in your main battle fleets to engage, using subs to pin them in place. But now playing kind of, obviously, a more land-focused army, it's very much about fast moving vehicles, using aircraft to pin away at, low level, like cut off infantry groups. Like right now, this infantry unit's by itself and we've been bombarding it with our aircraft. Our aircraft are kind of, our aircraft are looking pretty good. We've got almost, I think with this plane right here, we have 5 fighters, 5 bombers. We also have another bomber. We actually have another bomber here. I don't really know what it's up to, but they can go join the fight. Maybe even just kind of go off in their own separate one as well. Maybe I could start building a new air fleet up here in the north, maybe. But either way, yeah, so things have been pretty crazy, very back and forth. You can see I'm slowly starting to push in here, and I'm trying my best to maybe cut off their airports. That's going to be really important in this game, is cutting off the airports so they can't have aerial superiority, and we can push on pretty convincingly and break them back. I also managed to do some decent damage to this army right here as well, send that back. But again, any anti-aircraft I see, it's kind of like, oh yikes, I don't really want to commit to doing that, because I will take casualties with my bombers, and that's not something I really want to mess around with. So yeah, so Burma got smashed. Shiswan, which is this faction right here, which I'm fighting in right now, they got smashed really heavily. They barely have any units left. If you take, only 7 units, but they managed to hold up the enemy for minor nationalist China's forces to arrive, and now with the help of the Middle East, I'm hoping we can crush them, because I think without the Middle East they would have overrun us, because it's just me and nationalist China really left fighting in our corner with a decent amount of soldiers. So yeah, my plan for this battle plan in India is to try and just kind of cut off these airports. If I can just take these 2 airports, it basically cuts off this entire north, as there's not a single airport up here in the north, which basically means I can take a couple tanks and just run around conquering everything, and the airplanes can't hit me. So securing this airport is going to be very important. Then obviously securing this one and this one. This one's in the mountains, so it's going to be much harder to take, and I know for a fact they have a lot of forces here, as we've seen a big push out here. And then obviously to take these airports is going to be crucial, but kind of these airports in the south aren't really going to be a thing that we can worry about. You can see as well, all these airports are like leveling up to level 2, so that they can just spam out attack bombers and fight us. So yeah, anti-air is going to be very important for us, but hopefully I can secure the north, drain their resources, and then with the support of nationalist China in the south, we just dive up, we take out faction by faction. Arabia keeps everyone else busy down here by harassing, destroying buildings and stuff, and we can win this war. But then again, they might be able to overcome us. They are very good players by the looks of it from our little skirmishes so far, so I'm looking forward to that. If you're interested to see what the rest of the world looks like, you can see it right here. Big changes in Europe and Africa. Africa has been whittled down pretty heavily. Algeria doing amazingly right here. I think Algeria is definitely one of the stronger factions to kick off with, because of the mountain defenses and the easy access to a lot of rare materials in Africa, which they can really utilize and yeah, get a nice amount of boosts from. Up here in the north, you can see Diplx has managed to take out Finland and Denmark as well, and he's formed himself a nice little coalition of allies. I think he's with Germany, he's with Poland and Romania. He also has one more slot left, and Finland as well. So a really nice kind of a block of European allies right there. Probably going to go after Great Britain and Paris and France and Spain momentarily, just preparing their forces to do so. They are also fighting this big Russian player as well, who's all the way out here as well. You can see the Finnish border. I think they're fighting pretty heavily against one another. So yeah, that's him. And then over in America, Karmakut's been pretty, just turtling up, building up his forces. But then again, the whole of California is just goddamn mountains, so I can't blame him whatsoever, because there's so many mountains that slows up your forces dramatically. You can also see as well, I've got very lucky with my trading at the beginning of the game down here. Look how cheap I managed to pick up all this oil. Like, oil's really cheap at the beginning of the game, which is just kind of how it goes, because no one has like a lot of tanks or ships or anything to kind of custom oil, and no one's really building them. So I've just been stockpiling oil to sell later. I also managed to pick up a ton of rare materials super cheap at the beginning of the game, like as you can see, 14.5 there, 19, which is kind of expensive. I bought a few goods right there for the remaining gold I got. Yeah, some really nice 16 for 3,000. Like, that's ultra cheap. If we go take a look at how much it's selling for right now, 17, that's actually pretty cheap. I just don't have any cash right now. I'm hoping I can get my my gold to sell, and then we can go. If I can get my food to sell, then I'm just going to spam buy all of this, because in a couple of days' time, I think it's in 2 days time, the next level of bombers and planes unlock, so you need all the rare materials for that. As well as that, you obviously have tanks unlocking, you have the infantry, you have a next level up of all the support equipment, so getting anti-air and artillery. And that's all, all of this costs a lot of rare materials. Altogether, it's probably like 15,000 rare materials, which is costly, and that's something you're going to need to spam out as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's basically been the game so far. We're on day 6 now, as you just saw, and things are looking pretty good. Also, I've had a lot of people spy on me as well. I did not buy a single spy, but I've ended up with 4 spies under my payroll because I've just captured them and converted them from other nations. So instead of buying them for 15,000 cash, that's actually been a really good way. So yeah, I'll bring it back to you guys probably in a 2 days time, and it'll probably be kind of whether or not we've been smashed over in the forces up here in Tibet, or if they have brought us down. I'm also very wary of Mongolia coming in. That's why I've kind of set up just a small defense. Not really any great support equipment or anti-air, so if they come in with like a full combined army, Mongolia is going to hurt. But I'm going to message them, maybe try and get them to come in from the north. It's kind of some good access to land up here if they want it. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next one, or in the next couple of days, and bring it back to you guys and show you how well or how poorly the war has gone. The Great War for Asia continues. Welcome back, guys. I believe this is day 8, so this is 2 days on from where you guys would have last saw the action, as we were just beginning our major offensive against the Indian nations. And things have gone pretty successfully. You can see I've personally managed to dig in pretty heavily into Tibet's territory. However, the Himalayas, oh my god, have they been hard to navigate, slow going. Every inch we have been fighting for in the Himalayas have been brutal. And I mean, I guess it goes to show that you shouldn't probably be moving tanks to the Himalayas, but there's not really much more we can do. We need to keep our army sufficient and ready in case they try and counter-offensive, and we just need to kind of push through. So even though it is hard going, we have managed to succeed. And as we further push forward, we've just been building airports. My air force is looking pretty nice right now. My research for level 3 TAC bombers and fighters have just done. I basically rinsed all my rare materials I've been saving to get that, but it was a pretty good kind of upgrade to have it immediately, because it gives the fighters and the bombers extra range. So for people who don't have that research unlocked yet, if they've gone for something else, maybe railroad or rocket guns, then I can kind of hit them and they can't really hit me at max range, which has been really successful. They have beaten us back though over here in British Odisha. We've been hitting them pretty hard with artillery, but they've got decent forts here and they provide such a big bonus to their defenses. Like this one has 55% damage reduction, which has been pretty brutal. And even after bombardments and fighters and artillery hitting them 24/7, they are still holding in there and slowing us up. But hopefully I'll be able to come in from the north of them in Tibet, where they don't really have much territory, and if I can get my tanks and stuff under planes, I can hit their cities and basically win the war right there. Because the only real reason I think we've won this war is because of the Middle East. The Middle East came and saved our backs. It would have been a brutal war if they didn't, like against the Indians, but I think eventually the Indians in Tibet would have easily have beaten us just in a long prolonged war, because they basically managed to destroy Burma, and they really hampered Sichuan's capabilities. So it was just really me and nationalist China fighting them. So without the perseverance of Iraq, Persia and Saudi Arabia, I think that we would have definitely have lost. They managed to get, I think, mainly Saudi Arabia and obviously also Iraq down here. They managed to do amazing jobs of actually just getting tanks and fast moving vehicles pretty much in the rear of their factories, and just took these towns, destroyed the infrastructure, and kind of cut off the production. So not only when they took it back, they'd have to repair the buildings, but they also lost all the production they were doing beforehand. So yeah, Saudi Arabia, Iraq and Persia really putting up an amazing fight. We also have Syria as well doing a very, very nice job as well, breaking in here. So that drew so much attention away from our front. All the new fresh recruits that got recruited had to go over there. So yeah, overall, us and the Middle East coming together to hopefully defeat them. However, there is a power rising in Russia. We have the entirety of Volga Perm, I think, right here, who is looking extremely scary. If he goes to Mongolia, that's going to be pretty nerve-wracking. We'll have to see what happens there. There's also been a lot of discussion. I don't really know, because not too many people are writing in the newspaper, But it does seem like Diplx, as Sweden has taken a part of Greenland, and yeah, they were not happy. Actually, wait, what's this whole about Brazil now? Oh, Diplx must have given it over to someone then. Because I could have sworn he had this. Oh, but it does look like Diplx is invading the forces from the UK and looking to take this. Yeah, and Germany's coming as well. So they're expanding their sphere. I guess they gave this over to the Brazilians maybe for something. And I also think there is also a big war going on in America between South America and North America, or maybe something along the lines of, you know, one North American, one South American, and they're all fighting each other. So pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, also you can see Australia as well being eaten up by Queensland. It's going to be extremely powerful once that's all done. So I'll probably bring it back to you guys in the next couple of days. Hopefully by then we would either have broken the Indian defenses and, you know, we are rebuilding or just cleaning them up. Or, you know, they would have gone on a counter-offensive and pushed us back. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of days. The war in India has been won, but my god, are things heating up. So we did manage to break the Indian factions and push through the Himalayas. It was a pretty brutal war. I think it took us about 5 days to actually get through the Tibetan mountains. Oh my god, that was, yeah, the Himalayas are not meant for fast, maneuverable combat. I've learned that the hard way, surprisingly, this day. And yeah, we managed to break through with the support of our Western allies. I think I showed you guys that already, but basically since then we have just been spending the days rebuilding up all the infrastructure we've taken from the war. I've been heavily building up my army, making it more mechanized, more tanks, more medium tanks. I believe up in the north I have a very nice stack of, yeah, we've got 2 medium tanks here, which is very nice. Back home I've got a nice little setup here. If we just select all of these guys, yeah, 6 medium tanks up here. We've got some fast moving anti-air, we've got good anti-tank now, and basically just been trying to upgrade everything because we have recently just hit day 14, which unlocks the next row of technology, or at least we've had it for a while, but it's allowed me to basically get the next row of interceptors and also tactical bombers, which have been obviously extremely important. Air is king in this version of the game, so the more you have of that, the better it's going to be. And we're about to do something I don't feel great about. After fighting the Indians, with the help of Saudi Arabia and the other coalition of the Middle East, we're going to attack them this day. I've managed to convince Saudi Arabia and Iraq to join me in this ever-struggling war, and we're going to move in on both Persia and Syria today, and basically just try and rip through them so we can make our way to the EU, because Diplx is currently planning a massive invasion of our Russian friend in the north. They've recently been fighting up there, and it's been kind of a stalemate. They took land at the beginning, and then Volga Perm managed to take it back and do some decent casualties. But we have had news from our spies around the world that yeah, they're amassing over 200 units along the Russian border. They've been talking to the Middle East. One of the reasons we're taking them out is because I can't really trust Persia and Syria, whereas I know I can trust Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So, you know, we have to take them out now before they turn on us, and they're planning a mass invasion of Russia, and we're obviously sending a lot, as much as we can, to try and stop this and repel this invasion as best as we can. We're also planning on a big sweep through, so this is kind of a surprise attack. They don't know that Saudi Arabia is, you know, is helping me. They don't know that Iraq is not. Iraq doesn't want to backstab his friends, which I completely get. But he's basically just gonna support us, but stay out of the war, which I totally respect. And we're gonna push in. So T-minus like 2 hours until we do decide to push in. It's hopefully going to be a blitzkrieg. Luckily as well, because I've got maps, share maps, so I can see all of Saudi Arabia's stuff. I can see where the main Syrian and Persian divisions are. So we're immediately going to bombard this 20 stack immediately, as it only has 1 poor anti-air. So all of our fighters, which I'm bringing down my air squadrons now, are going to descend upon this fleet and yeah, hopefully take it down. We're going to descend our way through the territory. Saudi Arabia is immediately going to be hitting heavy, you know, important infrastructure from the central parts of their land, and we are going to hopefully clean this up, push our borders all the way up to here, maybe even into Africa, and then just hopefully rip our way up here so we can then join against the front against Diplx and his NATO allies. Because yeah, Diplx is definitely playing the diplomacy game, which is causing me to have to take out people I'd love to work with. I'd love to work with a Middle East, but I just can't trust that they won't turn on me, especially because we are the smaller community out of the two. So I assume more people have joined this game to support Diplex and Karmakut than they have to support me, which means, you know, I have to always worry about being backstabbed, you know, pretty heavily. As well as that, New Zealand is supporting us for now. I'm not sure if they're going to, you know, the entire way through, or if he does support Diplex or Karmakut. I'm not too sure on that matter, but he's going to help us out as well, and hopefully, you know, just add some support, which is very important because with our Japanese allies, you know, New Zealand and Japan can basically protect the Pacific if Karmakut tries anything, and they can also help us out against Africa, who I think is on Diplex's side, which is pretty scary, right? Because Diplex has, you know, the whole of the EU, the whole of Africa, and I mean, Southern America is kind of just fighting America, so right now Diplex is very, very scary with all his alliance blocks, and that's why I think we need to just strike the Middle East today. I think we're going to launch our attacks in 2 hours. We've set it up with our allies. You can see a lot of the nationalist Chinese men coming over as well. And just pushing up, and yeah, hopefully this will be a clean war. We can rip our way through, meet up with our Arabian allies. Nationalist China can take a lot of territory along with New Zealand, and we can just basically form up a very, you know, united front in the Middle East. Obviously away from our valuable resources, but then also threatening to push in to Romania, push into Poland and Finland. Because again, if we can start putting pressure, taking pressure off of Russia, then they can push in some more as well and do some serious damage. So yeah, things are definitely heating up. My army is ready to go. I think I have roughly almost 150 units. Yeah, I've just been spam building soldiers and ships and anything I can. Luckily, I've managed to get really developed in my homeland. Yeah, very nicely. A lot of at this point, I actually probably should upgrade this as well. Mainly a bunch of high-level industrial centers, which is good for resources, but it also gives you a very nice boost to unit build time, so I can build units a lot quicker. And I have a lot of production going on. I've taken, obviously, the whole of Tibet. I've taken the whole of this faction. I've taken all this northern territory. And obviously, whenever you take out a proper player after like 12 days, they're going to have extremely leveled up settlements themselves. So instead of having to spend that rare material, you're not having to worry about that. You know, you can just repair them at level 3 and not have to spare any of that resource of rare material. So, and all of these can produce me units as well. You know, there's like 10, 15 cities here that can all produce me resources that I've taken in the war, and hopefully we'll continue to take more as well around here. I'm also making a ton of rare materials as well. 188 by day, I don't know what day are we on, day 14, I think is amazing. I'm really happy with that. I am going to start transitioning into a navy, though. I've got a decent sub force, you know, a nice amount of subs scattered throughout, over 10 just in my homeland, but we're definitely going to you know, start building battleships, start building other stuff. I think I need to start upgrading this as well into a level 3 as soon as we have the cash to do it, and then we'll go from there. I've also been stockpiling oil as well, because oil becomes so important, and I've been picking it up for about $2 to $3 per barrel, so we've been getting a very nice amount of oil. And obviously, as you can see, I'm already starting to make a lot less than I was in the previous day, mainly because of, you know, just everything's going to be costing way more upkeep. So I've been trying to stockpile it as best as I can, and I think things are going well. So our economy is good, our army is very deadly, and we just have to prepare ourselves for the war to come. The war to end all wars against Diplex and against his allies. Again, I don't know who down here is his enemy and who down here is friend, but we'll have to see. And I'll bring it back to you guys probably tomorrow. I'll probably come back tomorrow and show you guys how the first day of fighting went, if we managed to rip through the Persians and the Syrians, or if they managed to hold us, and what's going on in Russia. Because I assume as soon as we make our move in the Middle East, they will immediately start pushing into Russia. And I mean, Russia has a decent amount of men. If we take a look, he has a good 67 units. He's been fighting obviously pretty hard against them. And maybe I'm going to have to send more men over to the front as well. Maybe something like this just to reinforce and maybe help out. Because if Russia falls, things are not going to be looking good for us. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys, and we'll be, you know, pushing into enemy territory. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Okay guys, we are back, and this is just a day on from where we last left off, so not a ton has happened, but our invasion of the Middle East has erupted. Our, you know, beautiful spy in the midst of Saudi Arabia basically disbanded the coalition and then told the whole of NATO that he actually, that Persia disbanded it and it was his fault. So right now, Saudi Arabia is playing the deepest spy game of the entirety of Call of War. I don't think I've seen anyone go this deep. He's embedded in their alliance. He's in their Discord feeding us information. He's basically spinning it that people are attacking him and that he's on the defensive, and it's pretty crazy. He even managed to convince one of the African nations who are all sending troops over to us that they should land his troops in his land, and then there was something like 32 planes here. 32 planes. That takes a long time to build, and then he attacked it. He switched sides, and even still, even after attacking these 32 planes from the in brackets NATO alliance, they're still not sure if whose side he's on. They're just saying that there's war in Africa and the Middle East and we should stop it and focus on us. So even still, even after killing this many planes, he is still just deep undercover. It's pretty insane, and it's doing the main thing. It's biding us time in the rest of the land, because obviously if they were to all attack him now, he probably wouldn't be able to hold. But the longer we get through the Persian territory, when we can get our forces more over into the Middle East, then we can kind of, you know, set up a united front and protect him against Africa coming in or anyone else. But I still can't believe that how many planes he managed to kill right here, or he is in the process of killing, because 32 planes is a lot. Like, that is a lot. I think in the entire game, I don't even have 32 planes in total, and I've been going pretty heavy in air, which is pretty crazy. Over in Russia, the enemy forces, the forces of NATO, are descending upon us. Diplex has his beautiful 28 stack up here in the north. SP artillery, medium tanks, and a whole bunch of anti-air. This is going to be a hard force to kill, but we do have some rockets that can maybe do the job. We'll have to see if we can get them into position and to hit his forces. But yeah, you know, it's been a pretty brutal fight. NATO have a lot of forces. We're currently fighting basically the entirety of this, plus Spain and France. So yeah, there's a lot of enemy forces, and Russia, you know, can't hold. It doesn't have enough men to do so, but we just need Russia to hold. I've got my armies up here helping, bombarding. My planes are running constant enemy bombardment strikes on these weaker divisions who don't have upgraded anti-air. My planes are going in. They're taking a couple % of casualties here and there, but they're inflicting way more damage than they're taking. And we just basically have to blunt this assault. We have to try and slow them up until I've got reinforcements on the way. I think in a day's time, my reinforcements will arrive, which will hopefully allow us to kind of hold the main line, the Stalin line, the new Stalin line of Ufa, maybe that's what we should call it, or Orenburg. That's where we will hold. And yeah, we just have to basically blunt this assault until our forces can wrap our way in, and then we can strike deep into enemy territory, push them back. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to have the manpower. As I said, more reinforcements are coming from the east, but it is a long way to go. But again, that's also meaning that it's a long way to go for them. They've got a lot of forces up here, which again is a lot of hill area. Hopefully they don't go directly into these plains, because that could rip through kind of quickly. Hopefully they try and just wrap around here through the mountains, and that will bide us enough time to really push in. As I said, I've got another, 20 units on its way with some more artillery, so I should have a decent amount of forces. My planes are running constant over time to hit this. I think I've got another air force on its way. Yeah, my other air force is going to be here in a handful of time. I think about 4 hours, 3 hours. I've got another 11 units here. So yeah, it's just all a time game depending on how fast they can push through us and how fast we can hold them back. We're going to have to definitely see. Yeah, and if we can push through here, then we're basically right into their exposed, because again, a lot of their forces will be all the way over here. So if we can break through up here, we're going to kind of force them to go back. We're going to be able to push in and maybe start hitting their friendly territory. You know, if we can get into Romania, that is going to be huge. But obviously, we've also got the entirety of Africa as well, doing the exact same, right? They're pushing men over to attack us as well. So yeah, this has been a really fun war so far. I'll probably skip ahead unless something crazy happens. I'll probably not do another one for at least 2 to 3 days, just so that this video isn't as crazy long as it is going to be. But yeah, so far, so good, I guess. Losing ground in the north, obviously ripping them apart in the south and the Middle East. Massive shout out to Saudi Arabia, playing the deepest spy game I have ever seen. It is actually wild. And yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Hopefully Russia has not fallen. Hopefully we're ready to do a counter-offensive. The summer counter-offensive will hopefully tear them apart. Oh my god, the war is so intense. Welcome back, guys. So we are on day 18 now. You can see I'm upgrading to some decent level artillery, the max rank artillery. This is like the one blueprint I actually do have, and level 6 infantry, as we are at the end game now. Pretty much, if not everything, is now available, besides maybe some of the late tier missiles, which I don't think you really get to use too often. And our war against Diplx and his clan have been insane, and it's still insane. You can see that we have made pretty good progress. We have wiped out Romania. Saudi Arabia did a really daring invasion, managing to hit all his major towns whilst he wasn't defending down in the south, expecting an invasion through Istanbul and into Greece, and it was really effective. He managed to take all his major cities before he could really bring men back, and that's kind of been the advantage for fighting over Russia. You can see how far Diplx and his allies have pushed in. All this stuff that I can't see is land that they've taken. They originally started off just, I think, around here, I believe. So as you can see, they have gone really hard up in the north, but the further they push their forces that way, the better it is for us. It means that we can quite easily, draw their armies away and then try and hit them deep in, and that was kind of our plan. However, they are closing the noose on me in Russia. I am kind of the sole bastion in this land. The whole of Volga Perm's forces were annihilated. I think he has literally no units left now. He put up one unit left. He put up an amazing stand. He held the NATO forces at bay, but yeah, he just was not enough, and I couldn't arrive in time to fully save him. However, I'm still fighting over his lands, and as you can see, Diplx, the Finnish forces, and even German forces are pushing in. These are just some forces that I saw a while ago. I don't exactly know where they are now. They could be anywhere, whereas these forces, I know they are here. A 17 stack from Diplx, a 6 stack up here by, again, Diplx, 14 stack up here by the Finnish, and they're closing this noose around me, moving further and further south, trying to wipe me out at Orenburg. Orenburg will be my Stalingrad. I have retreated back from my initial firing positions, and I've set up defensive positions, artillery, infantry in the city, brought back my tank divisions to guard the flanks, and just have to hope that I can hold until my allies break them. Because the thing is, if we can continue to push in, and again, Saudi Arabia is doing an amazing job. He's managing to get units deep into the enemy territory. If he can keep on doing this, if he can take major cities, that severely cuts down the amount they can produce. And I think, again, the NATO forces kind of ended up doing what I ended up doing in the last game. You kind of make a lot of friends with people around you, so you don't want to kill them. Like, Diplx has a lot of cities. He has kind of England, and he has obviously Sweden and Denmark. However, a lot of these cities wouldn't have been built up. Whereas if we take a look at my empire, which stretched, so yeah, we also killed Shiswan as well because they betrayed us, and East Yukakia. They both tried to attack us, but luckily we knew it was coming. We had seen them suddenly moving their units really weirdly. I asked him some questions, and I kind of, he lied, but I got to the bottom of it. I kind of knew that he was going to betray us, so we brought back some units to deal with that. It kind of just helped clean up my borders. But yeah, I mean, look at how many cities I have under my control. All these places with the white names basically have cities in, because they're the cities I took from Tibet, from Shiswan, from India, from southern India, from whoever was up here. These are all cities I took out, which were already really developed, which just allows me to kind of outproduce a lot of the opponents. And my economy, even though I'm losing a lot of stuff because, or food and oil, because I've got so many units, 192 units, because all my cities are just spam producing, and I'm just kind of throwing them into the fray. And people are selling, I mean, it's starting to run out now, but people are selling food and oil ridiculously cheap. So I can just kind of keep my army going. If we take a look at it, look at all of this. I bought so much food and on oil that my armies can keep on running at this deficit, and until that runs out, I'm pretty good. So I expect tonight they're going to make their push. They're going to try and take Orenburg, because if they can secure this, opens up obviously the Turkish mountains in the south. They can try and, or Armenian mountains in the south, they can push through and into our heart load like we're doing. But now we have a massive force from China here, over 60 units, ready to reinforce this. And if we can just take out Poland, or if we can take out Germany, it really starts to reduce the power of the NATO European alliance. And it's looking pretty good. It's looking actually really good. Oh yeah, also we're fighting the whole of Africa as well, sorry. It's kind of a long part, but yeah, we're also fighting everything in Africa as well. But New Zealand and Japan are seemingly doing a pretty good job at that. They've managed to take Madagascar away from the Africans, and yeah, we've made some pretty good invasions in Sudan, and obviously over in Egypt as well. We're fighting tooth and nail, but we're getting more and more men across, which is helping out pretty massively, because once we get everyone across, then we can really just start to whittle them down. We also sunk so many of their transports as they tried to cross this sea into Saudi Arabia, like hundreds of men I'm talking. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting next couple days. If I can hold at Orenburg, I think we're going to win the war, because we're going to have just a crazy amount of forces like pouring in, you know. And if Germany and Poland both go out, then, you know, we're pretty close to Leningrad and Finland. We can start taking Diplxheated settlements. Yeah, and I mean, I've been saying all of this because we've been in such an intense war, but there's also, you know, 2 other continents over here fighting pretty dangerously. We've got Karmakut and his alliance. They've been doing pretty good against the South Americans. I think they've pushed up pretty much over half the continent, starting to get into Brazil, and I imagine down into Argentina. However, Argentina are holding firm with their Bolivian allies. So yeah, you know, again, luckily they are busy fighting South America, because they could come in right now. Yeah, Japan and, you know, New Zealand have men back, but they could really cause some issues if they came across with a couple hundred men. They really could. So yeah, the war is intense. Really going to come down to whether or not my allies can break, you know, Poland, Germany, put pressure on the homeland of Diplxheated and his Finnish ally. Because if they do that, all their forces are in Russia right now fighting me, and it will take you know, days for them to get back to defend their homeland. So yeah, my plan is just to play very passive, lose this Russian land. It doesn't really make a difference to me. You know, now that Russia is out, I'm going to let them push, kind of let them encircle me, pick off what I can with my air force. Like, this is probably going to be a pretty good example. Yes, it has some good anti-air, but it's only 2 of them, and I have my entire air force here as well. 12 right there, 23 that I'll split up here. So I think we could definitely whittle down this and not really take too much damage. Or I've got reinforcements as well coming over. Yeah, and if you are interested in how much I've got here as well, so basically my entire Russian theatre, if we just do this, I've got 14 anti-air divisions, an armoured car, 14 artillery divisions, 13 infantry divisions, 3 anti-tank, 13 light tank divisions, 12 medium tanks, and my medium tanks are a pretty decent rank, and then about 18 aircraft on fighters and attackers, and some rockets as well to kill infrastructure, which we've been using to obviously hit all of their airports as well. And as you can see, yeah, I've managed to get level 4 medium tanks, which they do a decent amount of damage. And then obviously once the infantry's upgraded and the artillery's upgraded in a couple of days, that'll be amazing. So yeah, that's going to be the update. War is really intense, and hopefully we can prevail. I don't know, if Diplxheated and his allies crush me in Russia, it's going to leave us very vulnerable in the south. So I've just got to rely that my boys can break through. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I'll bring it back to you guys in the next couple of days and fish out. The war has been won. Welcome back, guys. So after a brutal 4 days of heavy fighting in Russia and in Europe, with multiple nukes being dropped by our opponents, we have claimed victory, pushing the enemy back into their heartland, and this is the end of Diplxheated. It was a crazy fun fight. Both me and him were playing very regularly. Whenever I made a movement, he moved to intercept and counter me, and honestly, without my allies, there is no way I would have been able to repel the oncoming storm of his mechanized units in Russia. As you guys saw in the previous kind of recap, I was pushed all the way back to Orenburg. Luckily, they kept on pushing deeper and deeper into Russian territory. You can see how far they actually got into Russian territory right here, and that basically allowed our allies of Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, and Iraq to reinforce. Iraq kind of reinforced me in the center here in Crimea. Saudi Arabia pushed through Greece, and obviously New Zealand and Saudi Arabia also went into Italy, which really did change the course of the battle. Germany did drop, I think, 4 nukes during our engagement. They dropped 1 right here on Zugritz, right there, and that killed over 40 divisions from China, basically nullifying the Chinese reinforcements you guys saw in the last video. Then dropped another one down here in Italy by Rome, and then another one up here in the north. Luckily, these were nowhere near as effective. We spread out a lot more, and then I think also we maybe dropped one on Munich where he had his nuclear reactor right there. We also, with our amazing scouting planes and stuff like that, managed to actually catch one of his nukes transporting as well and hit that one. So he didn't get to fire his 5th and final nuke, which was very, very nice. Yeah, and then after that, like, the ground forces were always going in our way after our huge kind of victories up here in Crimea, killing a lot of the Polish and Spanish units, and then the Germans being overrun in Greece and in the rest of the Baltics. We kind of had them on the ropes, and then that kind of forced Sweden and Finland to bring men over to kind of stop Germany and Poland from getting overrun. And then basically in the last day, their defenses crumbled. We pushed on. I managed to engage a nice couple divisions of Diplxes after he destroyed me over here with some really good stuff. And yeah, basically we just have the soldiers, and that's kind of, you know, down to the fact what I said is our empires are much, much bigger than theirs. You know, they're producing from like 6-7 settlements. We're producing from like 20 settlements each. And that just allows us to outproduce them, out-overrun them, like just gaining way more resources than they are, and really, you know, kind of just put the pressure on them with weight of numbers, which has been nice. We also obviously decided as well to completely retreat. We actually decided to retreat from Africa, realizing we could not defeat NATO and fight Africa at the same time. So we basically brought all our New Zealand, all our Saudi Arabian and Iraqi units back. We've got kind of still a beachhead around the Suez, but for the most part, we brought everyone back and just reinforced the rest of the positions, and yeah, it kind of seemed to play it off pretty well in our favor. Just pushing off now, my air force is going to come down and try and clear out this anti-tank gun, which is extremely scary. The level 6 anti-tank gun does 14 damage on the defense to my tanks, which are overrunning Finnish territory. I'm pretty sure Diplx is trying to retreat all of his men into England, but just as we started to break them, the Americans seized the opportunity, of course they did, and decided to invade the UK, their last bastion of retreat. So now the North Mexican and also the Scottish territories are being taken over. So yeah, NATO has been taken care of, and now basically there's America. Karmakut obviously is standing strong in his alliance block. He's fighting pretty heavily down in South America. You can see again North Mexico doing some pretty good stuff down here. Southern Argentina is kind of really the only force that's still left remaining, and South Brazil are the only bastions of the Americans. And also look at that border gore as well, it's disgusting. So yeah, I guess after that we're going to kind of obviously deal with France and Spain, reform up our armies, probably go for Africa, await an invasion, a battle of the Pacific. I'm currently working on my ships right now, just waiting up until I get enough rare materials. So probably in the next hour or two, I'll have enough rare materials, and that'll be pretty nice to start working on the battleships and getting some destroyers up and running, because yeah, we do need to quite quickly get more. Well, I need to quite quickly focus a bit more on my navy, because it's going to be very important if we're looking to invade America and start doing some damage to them. So yeah, let's just start producing some of our destroyers and we'll go from there. So yeah, past 4 days, very successful, did a lot of damage. Now it's just basically finishing off Diplx, burning Stockholm to the ground, reforming up, and then preparing for, you know, the Americans to invade us or anything else. We'll have to see. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next recap. Welcome back, guys, to another day on our Call of War Grand campaign, and things are going pretty well for us over the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 days since I last recorded. We managed to consolidate our forces in Africa, and our invasion forces in America are raring to go. I managed to turn British Columbia. Well, British Columbia was always a secret agent for me in the Americas, and he has finally shown his hand. My troops have arrived on friendly territory. Our air force is maneuvering across the north and into Alaska, hopefully down into America, and I am within touching distance of Karmakut's territory right now. A lot of their forces are over in the Pacific. We've already had skirmishes on Papua New Guinea and a few of the other islands like Iwo so which has been really, really fun. Kind of naval combat. Naval combat's definitely my most enjoyable thing to do in this game, because it's kind of like the scouting, which takes a couple hours, and then it's like big engagements. It's just really fun. It feels like a proper naval battle, you know, scouting around the Pacific looking for ships and then sending off the main battle fleet to engage it. It's been really, really good. As well as that, though, we have had some trouble in our time. New Zealand was in the Discord, leaking information, leaking troop positions to Karmakut, so we had to obviously kick him out, and that's pretty scary, because New Zealand is one of our strongest players, definitely in the game. He has a lot of good technology, has a lot of troops. So we were pretty nervous that he was going to declare war on us, but we wanted to try and rush this invasion of America as quickly as possible, because the sooner we invade America, the sooner he will see that there's no point joining them, because, you know, the war is won. I say that, you know, obviously they're still pretty large in scale. They have the whole of South America as well. Even that border gore is looking atrocious. But yeah, you may have the whole of America, whole of South America, but hopefully this surprise attack will allow us to cut in deep in their home territory. If we can, like, take cities and stuff, stop their production, and then we can obviously have this, you know, this kind of like stream of troops arriving in America, the better it will be. We have, you know, a handful of ships. We've got China sending 45. We've got Manchukuo with his around about 46. We've got battleships. We've got, you know, a lot of stuff pouring in, and hopefully we can take this element of surprise and just, you know, at least secure ourselves a very good foothold in the north before, you know, everything does go well. It's Tokyo Drift over here right now. With them planes, yeah, and as well as that, Saudi Arabia is just causing them issues on the east coast as well. Just trying to kind of draw more troops over for our invasion, but we should be good. You know, we have huge empires, and that's something I've definitely learned in this game as well. Is it's definitely better to have 5 superpower factions, like, you know, like we were this entire time, me, China, Japan, New Zealand, Arabia, you know, like 5 very, very big factions, obviously including Iraq as well, but just in general, I think you need 5, like really, really strong players who have a lot of territory, then a bunch of small ones. That's why I think if you're ever playing any of these bigger games, don't just make friends of the people around you. Make friends with people like around the people you're around, if that makes sense, because you want to conquer them so you're large enough and you can build stuff, because all their cities will have industrial complexes, so you have to spend the resources early and you can start pumping out units, because the early game is very much taking as many cities as you can so that you can pump out as many units as you can and just throw them at the enemy, you know, until your technology gets good and you can rely on fighters and bombers and stuff like that to do your business. And I think that's definitely how we played it this game. You know, we didn't really, when people wanted peace, we were just like, nah, this is like an all or nothing game. We have to do it because everyone else is getting big around us and we have to keep on going. And, you know, thankfully to Iraq and Saudi Arabia, we were able to defeat kind of the Indians, with them coming in and really helping us out. New Zealand coming in with Arabia and Iraq, you know, allowed us to sturdy things in the north and actually beat Romania, which kind of was the fall of NATO right there. And still, it was definitely been my favourite fight as well, was the fight against Diplx in Finland up in the north, when it was just me standing alone with my forces, holding back the Untide of their elite motorised armies. It was extremely difficult, and luckily my allies arrived in time, because if they didn't, you know, it was very, very close for Diplx to be in Manchukuo territory and start driving south. So yeah, I don't know. It was a really, really fun war. But yeah, I'll bring back to you guys probably the last episode, unless they do an amazing fight back and they push us back. I think we've got this one now, but we'll see, as we don't need that many more points to win. Actually, if we take a look at it, we only need, our coalition needs about another 1,000 points, and I think that'll probably be the whole of North America. So if we take North America, we win the game. We don't have to worry about South America. So it should be hopefully GG soon. So yeah, I'll see you guys in that episode. The war has been won, Karmakut has been defeated, and I take my place on top of the YouTuber Call of War throne. And I'm pretty happy. It was a very, very fun session right there. We have now claimed a coalition victory between me and my allies. You can see the Sino-Korean Prosperity Pact has enough points to win, and we went ahead and claimed victory. Got a bunch of gold for winning the game, which was great. And yeah, obviously it was a bit of a hard going, obviously in the Californian mountains, but for the most part there weren't that many troops left in America after our big fights elsewhere. A lot of the American troops were in the Pacific. They had been fighting with Southern Americans quite a lot, so a lot of their troops were tired, worn out, exhausted. And by the time we got over there, obviously British Columbia went ahead and supported us in the war in the end, and he allowed us to sink a large amount of the Ontario army, and we kind of just got the element of surprise, bombarded their forces before they could even really react. I had a lot of troops traveling on a safe pass across the Pacific, so I could land in British Columbia with 50 units right away, make a beachhead, and then the rest of our forces went across the northern Alaskan mountains up here, and then down into British Columbia to make them safe. And it was basically just GG at that point. California did take a long time to fall. Karmakut built loads of level 5 forts and had artillery, infantry, you name it, in the cities. We did drop a nuke on San Francisco, which was kind of funny, and after literally days of bombarding it took to actually break through some of the defenses at Los Angeles. Yeah, it was brutal indeed. But this is how the map looks. We've won. Obviously the game is no longer going on at this point, and you can see that our alliance, obviously we had to drop out Manchukuo and New Zealand, obviously, to get enough points to win, because you know, we wanted to obviously finish the game because we'd basically taken everything over, but obviously Manchukuo was a huge help throughout the game. And then currently in our coalition, and obviously Japan as well, we have myself, we have nationalist China, we have Iraq, we have Saudi Arabia, and we obviously have British Columbia, just because they have the most points. But New Zealand would have obviously been in it, but he was feeding information to the Americans, trying to play both sides, and we obviously didn't want to fight him because it would have just made the game go on for a lot longer, and we were lucky enough that he was just like, yeah, I'll stay out of this war, I'll take my second place, my third place, whatever, but I just played passive from now on, which was good, because yeah, his navy was pretty scary. He had some nuclear battleships and submarines and stuff, and it would have just been a lot of effort to try and kill him, so I'm happy he did stay out of things. But yeah, it's been so much fun. I love these Call of War sponsorships, where they're really great, and it's obviously awesome when you get to play a sponsorship that you do generally really enjoy. And you know, as you guys can tell probably from all my videos, I've been playing a lot. I would highly recommend this game, especially with the new 1.5 update that will be coming soon enough. I already have some test games up playing around. 1.5 update is a ton of fun, some really good changes. I think it streamlines a lot of the game and makes kind of some really positive changes, so I can't wait. Hopefully they'll want to sponsor another video and we can play a 1.5 game. If you guys obviously do want to play with me in them games, make sure you use the link in the description to sign up. It does help out the channel, and you can get a couple games under your belt until hopefully they sponsor another video, and then we can, you know, dive in and have another 100-man showdown. You can fight alongside me, build your own empire, and go on that way. So obviously massive GG to everyone who played in the game, and especially Diplx and Karmakut. I had some really good fun fighting Diplx in Russia. It was probably some of the best combat I've actually had in the game. You know, just constant bombarding his armies, his real mobile kind of anti-tank, anti-aircraft armies roaming around conquering land. It was just a really cool scenario, and hopefully it came across in the video. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next time, and fish out.